Jai Hind everyone. I, Suvarna Muzumdar, Assistant Professor in Electronics and Communication Department of Ajay Kumar Garg Engineering College, welcomes you on a lecture on microprocessor architecture and its operation. The microprocessor structure. In last lecture we had discussed about the logic gates, and now in this lecture I am going to relate how these logic gates are used to design this microprocessor structure and what are the basic components, or you can say the parts used in this structure. So, there are actually we can say that every computer contains 5 essential parts or the units. Now, there is some little bit confusion between the computer and the microprocessor, but so I am going to clear it that here, that in computer we can say that it consists of arithmetic logic unit, control unit, memory unit, input unit and output unit. But when we say about the microprocessor, or we can say it is a sub block of your computer, and microprocessor covers the first two microprocessor will covers the first two part of the computer. Means if I say that I am using a microprocessor, whether it is 8085 or any other microprocessor, in that case it consists of only the arithmetic logic unit and control unit and some part of registers to stores the data temporarily. So, you can say that this is our computer. So, a computer you see you use this computer with keyboard, mouse, monitor, printer, and you say that it is CPU, that is central processing unit. So, this central processing unit, in the central processing unit we have a motherboard, and in this motherboard we have a microprocessor. Okay. So, this microprocessor is basically nothing but it is a programmable device which consists of your arithmetic logic unit, means that it performs arithmetic and logical operation on some data to store that data before performing any operation, or for temporary storage of data it uses the registers, and to perform each and every operation it needs some control operation, control thing. So, that controlling is done through this control unit. Then one thing I had missed here is our hard drive, that is our secondary storage, and we also have primary storage. I think all of you are aware of this primary, that is RAM and ROM. This RAM and ROM, it is actually I can say it is inside the CPU. So, I will cover it here only. This is RAM and ROM. Okay. So, memory unit, input unit, and there is one more I miss it, that is output unit. So, these two terms, these are output unit, these are our input terms, input unit. Okay. So, this is our basic computer architecture. Okay. But in our syllabus we have to mostly we are focusing on the microprocessor, that is on the arithmetic logic unit and the control unit, how it is going to perform the task whenever a task is assigned to a system. Now, the architecture part of our microprocessor. So, the microprocessor, as I told you, it is an heart of any computer and it performs a number of functions. So, the first function that microprocessor is going to perform is It provides timing and control signal to all the elements connected to the computer. So whether it is a keyboard or a mouse or printer, any device, any input output device or a memory unit which is connected to a system, microprocessor have a control. So microprocessor will decide, or it is programmed in such a way that it will take the decision to perform the task how with whom it has going to perform. So and at the timing instant only. Okay. So the timing and the control signals are generated from a microprocessor. Second is it fetch the instruction and data from the memory. So whenever we buy a new computer, we used to program it. Whenever we buy a new microprocessor, or initially at the first step we have to program that. So how we are going to program? We have to write some instructions in a memory unit, and from that memory unit microprocessor is going to fetch the instruction, then it decodes it, as well as it fetch the data from there and perform some task, whatever the instruction is given, whatever the program we have written in our memory unit. Then the third function that microprocessor is going to perform is transferring of data, that either it takes the data input from memory or some input device, it takes the data from keyboard or mouse, then it performs some task, and after performing that task the result has to be either display on the monitor, or it is in the printed form, or it is again stored in the memory. So this is the again the task that is performed by microprocessor. Then the decoding instruction, as I told you, it fetched the instruction, then it has to decode that instruction. The instruction will be fetched from memory, and then that instruction is decoded, and then it is going to execute that instruction. So the execution part, it use ALU, that is arithmetic and logic unit, to perform the arithmetic and logical operations. Okay. So whatever the instruction we have given, it uses this ALU unit to perform the arithmetic and logical operations. Then also one more function that you can say, that whenever an input output device wants to communicate with a computer, or you can say the microprocessor, it sends some signals, and these signals we can say that these control signals are, we can say it is reset and interrupt. We will see this signals in more detail in subsequent lectures, but whenever an input output device wants to communicate with microprocessor, it has to generate some signals, control signals, and that we can say that is the peripheral initiated operations. Okay. So these are some instructions that that are performed by microprocessor. These are some functions that it will go with timing and control, fetching operation, decoding, then execution, transferring of data, and performing arithmetic and logical operations, and responding all the input output devices through reset and interrupt signals. Now how this microprocessor is going to work, or we can say how this microcomputer is going to work. As I told you, there are three basic instructions, the three basic tasks that microprocessor is going to perform. First is fetching, then decoding, and then execution. Just I will show that how we are going to do that, how microprocessor is going to perform this. So let us take, this is our memory unit, and this is our microprocessor. Okay. So this microprocessor has some register array, ALU, and control unit. Okay. So whenever an instruction is first instruction we will say, so microprocessor will generate an address, it generate a control signal, this is control signal, this is address. Okay. So to generate the address and to send a control signal, it uses bus. So I already discussed about this bus, but here again I am going to give a brief about this. So this is known as system bus. We say this as system bus. It consists of three parts. One is address bus, data bus, and control lines. Actually somewhere it is written as control lines, somewhere it is used as a bus. Actually control address, when we are going with bunch group, then we use term bus. When we are sending single instruction or single control signal, then we use the term line. So control lines, or you can say the control bus, address bus and data bus. This address bus are unidirectional. Always this address bus is unidirectional, and it is working from, or you can say the data or the content on address bus will flow from microprocessor to other device, whether it is a memory or input device or output device. So always the address is generated from microprocessor, because the microprocessor is the one who will decide from whom it has to take the data. So to take the data, it will send the address. It has to identify which device it has to be communicated. So the address must be generated by microprocessor. So always it is unidirectional and it is from microprocessor. Now the data bus, these bus are bidirectional, because it will takes the data from microprocessor and it will takes the data from other device and back take it to the microprocessor also. So there are two-way communication in case of data, okay, because we need some data from outside world to the microprocessor, and microprocessor performs some arithmetic and logical operation and it wants to give results back to the outside world. So in that case you can say that it must be a bidirectional. So this data bus must be a bidirectional. And the control lines, so as I already told you that microprocessor is only the device which will have a control, okay. So it is only the device which will generate a control lines or control signals. So this is again a unidirectional, okay. So this microprocessor, as I told you how it is going to work. So first it will generate an address. It will generate some control signals indicating what operation it has going to perform. The control signal may be a read operation, may be write operation, reading from memory or reading from input device, or writing into a memory or writing into an output device. So it will generate this depending on this instruction. Microprocessor, whatever the program written in this memory unit, the data, or you can say that instruction, but first instruction, that it will travel through data bus. This is our data bus. So you can say the first instruction will reach to the microprocessor. And now microprocessor, when first instruction reach to microprocessor, this process is known as fetch operation. That microprocessor generate an address. At that address location, some data, some instruction has been written by us as a programmer. That first instruction get fetched by microprocessor. Now this instruction reach to this microprocessor. Now microprocessor will decode that instruction, okay. After decoding, microprocessor came to know that what operation has to perform. Now if instruction is like addition, so it needs some data. So after decoding it, microprocessor came to know that it needs some data, so it will search for that data. So that data, either it is in memory or it is in the microprocessor itself, it will be decided by microprocessor after decoding, and then the execution process will take place. So this execution is again be done in this microprocessor only, and after execution the result may be given to the memory or any input output device, okay. So here I can say this is memory, and we can have on input output device also, IO. Address data. Okay, so in this way this microprocessor will work. So always in a microprocessor it will first fetch an instruction. After fetching that instruction it will decode that instruction. After decode it will execute that instruction depending on the decode whatever the result is decoded. So to perform this instruction, that is fetching, decoding and execution, as we had already learned about the logic gates, and I think you all are aware that logic gates, by using logic gates we can design two types of circuits, combinational and sequential. Okay, so combinational circuit may be adder, decoder. Sequential circuit may be flip-flop, registers, counters. So you can see that if you go in the internal part of your microprocessor, in the internal architecture, you have you can say the microprocessor is having all these circuits, whether it is an adder circuitry or decoder circuitry, registers, flip-flop, counter. So it is a combination of all these combinational digital circuit, and that's why we had studied about this logic gate. So if you have a clear concept of logic gate, then we can apply this logic gate concept on adder, decoder. But it's not compulsory also, because when we are going to study microprocessor, you come to know that we have to program the microprocessor. So when we have to program the microprocessor, it's not really required to go in deep study of this all combinational and sequential circuit, but a basic idea must be kept in back of the mind to understand it very clearly how this microprocessor is working. So to understand the working principle of microprocessor, we must have in background the knowledge about this logic gates and flip flops and adder circuitry. But when we are going to program the microprocessor, it is not that much of having an interest. Okay. So just I am going to relate that that when I told you that it is decoding. Okay, so for decoding, microprocessor use the decoder circuitry. Okay, for storing it uses registers, it has some registers. When it has to count the operation, it use the counter. And in memory unit, basically the basic unit of memory is flip flop. So all the devices which are connected with in the microprocessor are digital circuitries. Okay. So now after understanding the working principle of microprocessor, I am going to discuss about the architecture of microprocessor and its operation. This lecture is just a general introduction. We are not specifically discussing about any microprocessor, but in our syllabus we are going to discuss about 8085 microprocessor and 8086 microprocessor. But before that, just have a broad view of any microprocessor. Okay, so a microprocessor, as I told you, it is a programmable logic device which consists of right now I told you that it consists of registers, flip flops, adder circuitry, decoder. Okay, these microprocessors need some instructions, okay, to perform the task on the data given to it. Okay, so the data is provided either from a memory or the data is provided by a peripherals, that is input output device. Okay, so we need to write some set of instruction in the memory so that microprocessor can perform that particular task on the data. Then this process of data manipulation and the communication is known as the what we can say the architecture part of your microprocessor, or you can say this is the process of data manipulation and communication by using the logic of our microprocessor. So architecture is basically defined in such a way. So different functions that microprocessor is going to perform are basically classified into three: microprocessor initiated operation. So the what all the functions, whatever the functions, what all functions the microprocessor is going to perform, we divided into three category. Some functions are initiated by microprocessor. Some are the internal or data operation, that whenever the data is in the microprocessor performs some operation like decoding and storing. So that is the internal data operation. And the third category is peripheral initiated operation. Here peripheral means it may be an input device, it may be an output device. Okay. So peripheral initiated operation we can say it is, or we can say another name, that is externally initiated operation, because this operation is initiated by the external device, not by the microprocessor. Okay. So we will see one by one how we are going to classify this. So first of all, microprocessor initiated operation. So in this operation primarily there are four operations that microprocessor is going to perform, that is memory read, memory write, IO read and IO write. Memory read means reads data from the memory. Okay. So obviously whenever a microprocessor it start its first operation, it is memory read. Why? Because our program or instructions is always written in the memory. So whenever a microprocessor is switched on, and the first task that microprocessor is going to perform is memory read. It reads the data from the memory. Here we are using the data word because right now the instruction is the data. Okay. And for microprocessor, whatever the information comes to the microprocessor, it is a data. It will you can say that it is initially it is we can classify it into two parts, that is one is instruction and one is data. But for microprocessor the instruction is also a data because it is a binary form, so we consider it as data only. So it reads the data from the memory. Second operation is memory write. Whenever the whole task is completed and we have to store our result, so either we can display our result on the monitor, or we can have a print of that result, or the third part is we can go and write our data in our memory unit, so that we can use for that data for further manipulations. Okay. So the second primary operation is memory write operation. Then third is IO read. IO read means we can accept the data from input device, whether it may be a keyboard or a mouse, or just like this sensor remote. I am sending the signal. So this is giving an input to the microprocessor. IO read, IO write, the fourth operation, that is send data to the output device. So this is displaying a result. So here when I send a signal, click this through this remote, I am sending input signal to my microprocessor. Then in response to that signal, it is displaying this result here. So this is the output. So IO write operation is going to be performed. Okay. So these are the four instruction that microprocessor has initiated operation. Now internal data operation. When microprocessor receive an instruction, when it fetch an instruction from memory, it will decode that. Okay. And it will perform some arithmetic and logical operation. So whatever the operation performed inside microprocessor, we say that all that operations are internal data operations. So first of all, store 8-bit data. Here it may be 8-bit, it may be 16-bit. Sorry. It may be 32-bit data, 64-bit. Okay. It depends on microprocessor processor speed, how much data it is going to operate at any time. But the storage, the register size will be 8-bit minimum. Okay. So minimum this will be 8-bit. any register. Okay, so it store an 8-bit data. Second, it performs arithmetic and logical operation. For performing this arithmetic and logical operation, it will use an ALU unit. Test for condition. So, actually this test of for condition is this microprocessor, any microprocessor have some registers known as flag or status register. Okay. So, whenever the arithmetic and logical operation is performed, after that the result is stored in the accumulator, and according to that result some status register, some signals or some flags in the status register get modified, and then microprocessor has to perform some testing operation using then it is going to perform internally. Then sequence the execution of instructions. So, microprocessor internally follows some rules, like in case we will go with 8086 microprocessor, there we have to perform after fetching, decoding and execution, the pipelining structure is there. So, we have to perform that operation in sequencing. Sequencing means first instruction, that is fetch, it is only decoded and it is executed, then second instruction. So, a sequence of the execution of instructions must be there. Then we have to store the data temporarily during the execution in a read write memory, that is known as stack. So, we will discuss in detail also about the stack, but here I just give you a brief about the stack. Is that whenever microprocessor is performing some task, it uses a memory unit. Okay, and when it needs some registers for performing another task. So for temporary the data must be stored somewhere in other location, and it will use that register and again get refilled that data. So for the temporary storage, microprocessor assigns some part of memory as a stack, and we use this memory location to store our data temporarily. So, microprocessor will initiate this operation internally. Now, the peripheral or externally initiated operation. Okay, so there are more we can say microprocessor will not work independently. It needs some input output devices to communicate with outside world. So, to whenever an input output devices, we can say it is peripheral devices connected to the microprocessor, some operation must be initiated by that peripheral device. For example, this sensor, I already told you, this remote, this operation by clicking, it is initiated by this remote only. So, when I click it, it display reset. Okay. So, this reset, or we can say whatever the external initiated operation, these are present in on the hardware part of your microprocessor. So, in hardware we are having a reset pin available. So, whenever we want to restart our system, when we found that our microprocessor or whether our computer is on hanging position, our laptop is at hang, we want to restart it. So, we have one push button, we push that button and our system get restart. It will ask for rebooting of our system. So, this restart is an external initiated operation. It is initiated by a user or external device. Interrupt. This is the most important part of whenever a microprocessor is working. So, in this interrupt, any external device, whether it will be input or output, it needs any program, any attention from microprocessor. It will send a signal indicating that it has to be served. Okay. So, whenever we can say in the class or whenever we are going to study something and our phone ring. So, that phone when it rang, it is an interrupt to our work that we are studying. So, that ringing of phone is interrupt. We go and we serve that, we pick our phone, we have a conversation, and then we will come back to our study part, books, whether we are studying book or anything. So that we are going to serve that service regarding to that interrupt, and we are come back to our main program, that is of studying. So interrupt may be initiated by any external only person. It may be input device, output device, or any peripheral ICs. Okay. Ready. This signal is again an important signal because it is used by a slow peripheral device. Actually, as I told you that our microprocessor is a time driven system. It uses clock to perform every task. So it will perform that task at particular frequency. But the other device which wants to communicate with microprocessor is of with little bit slow processing. Then whenever it is ready to communicate with microprocessor, it will send that ready signal that okay, now this slow peripheral device is ready to communicate with microprocessor. Okay, just one thing I miss here. When this reset signal is activated, at that time the microprocessor, or we can say the content of what you can say, there is one register program counter. We will see in detail the architecture of microprocessor, then you can come to know that there is one register known as program counter. This register always hold the address from where the instruction has to be fetched, next instruction has to be fetched. So whenever this reset button is pressed, the address will be this in the program counter, means always program counter will point to the initial location of the memory, and the initial location of memory is 0000H. So this is the thing that it restart, it reboot. Whenever you saw also that whenever you restart your system, it will start with the booting program, it will boot, it will run that BIOS program, it will run your operating system, and then it will reach to the your desktop, that icon, and then you are able to open your new whatever the programs you want to run. Then one more externally initiated signal is hold. Mainly this signal is generated by a device known as DMA. DMA stands for direct memory access. Okay, so this DMA is, again we can say, it is a controller, direct memory access. So whenever microprocessor wants that, or you can say there are large amount of data, a big file, database file is there, and we want to store that database from keyboard, that database from keyboard to memory, or from another memory like hard disk, from our pen drive to our hard disk. In that case, when we have to transfer a big or large data file, in that case this DMA came into picture. This direct memory access controller takes the control of buses. As I told you, there are three types of buses: address bus, data bus, and control bus. So the control of these buses from microprocessor is taken by DMA controller. By to take this control, it send this hold signal, and this hold signal is again work as an interrupt to the microprocessor. So microprocessor suspend its work, release the control of bus to the DMA. So these are the all externally peripheral initiated operations. We will see this in detail with microprocessor 8085 and 8086 also. So this is all about microprocessor architecture and its operation. Thank you.